All right, so our workshop this afternoon is Trip Planner Spa, and there's a lecture for it, which I did not read or prepare, so I'm just going to Google what spa is, and we'll figure out what we're going to be doing this afternoon. Oh. What? Oh, I see. No, that makes sense. Okay, this is the wrong kind of spa, although maybe it's the right kind of spa, and we should just do that. Who just wants to do that? Oh, damn. Okay, you're all free to go. Go to the spa. Otherwise, maybe let's look for web spa, which could be really hilarious, or... No, okay, that looks right. Single-page application. I think I just opened that workshop. So let's see what exactly a single-page application is. So Wikipedia tells us a single-page application is a web application or website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading entire new pages from the server. This avoids the interruption of the user experience between successive pages, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's figure out what that means. So I'm going to open the DevTools on this very page and go to the Network tab. And here, let's watch what happens as I load this Wikipedia page. Oh, I think I've got a filter active. Let's try that again. I still have a filter active. Show me everything. Yeah, there we go. Great. So when I reload this page, like a bazillion requests go off. The first one is for this actual page. Notice that its type is document. So this is the navigation request. This is the thing that happens when your browser goes to what it thinks is like a brand new URL, a fresh document. And it initializes like actually the DOM document object, and then also fires off load requests for everything for all of the resources in the page. So in this case, that mostly looks to be a couple of style sheets, a script, and then some images, which is kind of surprising because I don't see a lot of images on this page. Also, some of these are all like data URLs. So what are these even? Oh, I see. This image is like a vertical bar of nothing. No, it's a vertical bar of something. It must be like, oh, it's this. It's this background. Okay, what about this? It's a longer version of this background. Okay, so Wikipedia loads like a billion images, and they're all, oh yeah, and that's like a little nubbin on this page somewhere. Probably that's an image too. And that's basically it. It's not a very complicated page. If I start falling into a Wikipedia rabbit hole, as I'm wont to do, so I like go and say, okay, so this is a single page application, but what actually is a web application? I click that, and my whole network tab reloads. And now there's a new document and a bunch of requests for the ancillary stuff needed for this document, including presumably this, oh, that loaded something, including presumably this image and whatever other special images are on this page. This is going to keep happening. I don't know why there's a stack trace. Here, let me reload. Yeah, there we go. This is going to keep happening as I follow links. So computer program is going to go load new stuff. And in fact, if I check preserve log, it won't clear this bottom panel when I navigate. So as we go and visit new pages, we'll see that the computer program happened, and then application software happened, and let's follow. I've heard that if I keep following the first link on any page, I'll end up with Hitler. So instructions, is that true? Computer, instructed. It's getting closer, isn't it? I don't know.
It ends up in philosophy most of the time. There's some things that break it.
Yeah, computers might be the thing. There you end up on like Haskell or something. So anyway, now that as I've been preserving the log as I've done this, so we can sort of see this chain of documents. If I just want to see the documents, I can say filter only document requests. And these are all the the like navigation events that have occurred. This is when Chrome, in this case, but the browser in general, has thrown away the entire previous document object, requested a new one from the server, and like constructed a document from that. So Wikipedia is obviously a like relatively popular site, and this is clearly not a terrible way to do things if they're doing it. But let's look at a different site to see a different way we might do it, and see if we can notice any difference in the experience. So let's look at, here, I'm going to do this in another window, which, of course, means we're going to watch me struggle with expose. Okay, so let's look at Medium, which is a pretty nice site that I just discovered like 10 years too late. I didn't just discover it, but I just like started to actually like it. So let's see what happens when I load this page. Oh god, network tab, show everything. Okay, so when I load this page, I get a whole bunch of requests. Here's the document, medium.com, and then all of the other stuff on this page. And then if I follow this, like, I was looking for Africa's biggest electronics dump, but found community creators. That sounds great. So I don't have preserve logon, but it didn't blow this page away. And actually, if I go and just look for documents, it still thinks I'm on medium.com. And like, if I go back, what happens? Yeah, if I go back, it doesn't load a new page. If I click to this different article, it doesn't load a new document. In fact, wow, this is like ominous, right? Like one more strike and something's gonna happen. Well, this is a very depressing article. But no matter how many depressing articles about the ways that technology either is destroying the world or not saving us from cancer, I don't seem to get a new document in here. It's as though the browser thinks we're still on medium.com, even though the title changed for some reason. Maybe they're using the history API. And that's actually what's happening, right? So when I load a new, when I click on an article in Medium, or when I click on anything in Medium, it's not going to load a new page. It's actually going to keep the same document around. And if I look instead of document requests, if I look at XHR requests, I will see a bunch of those go off, maybe, yeah, whenever I click on one of these links. There's also a few that just kind of happen in the background, like batch. I have this feeling that batch is just reporting back all sorts of data on me. Stock prediction in Python. So these are all, oh, so many XHRs. So these are all XML HTTP requests, which is quite an anachronism because I bet you like $100. I should be careful about that, but I'm pretty sure these are not loading. Yeah, these are not loading XML. These are instead loading JavaScript. I wonder why they look like this. Let's see. Unsafe URL, provisional headers. This is like a really interesting thing, right? It looks like they have this like kind of garbage in front of their responses in order to keep anyone from like JSON P loading this, from like loading this API endpoint through a script tag, I think. Anyway, I encourage you to Google what on earth that means. But basically, these are requests to the server being performed from JavaScript to get the data required for the next page. So why is Medium doing it that way? Wikipedia doesn't do it that way. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little snappier. Like, when I click on these things, so these have to load at first, right? So when I first click on letters, it takes a second to load. But actually, when I go back to visualization or programming or machine learning, there's almost no lag. Whereas on Wikipedia, if I go to like applied mathematics and then mathematical science, there's always here. Let's even if I'm going back to something that is already in the cache. No, that's not it. Mathematics. That is, right? It takes a second. Not a whole second, that would be intolerable, but like some fraction of a second. Whereas on Medium, it's more like, so one thing that's very fast on Wikipedia is clicking these links in the table of contents because they're taking you to somewhere on the page that already exists. Like they're fragment identifiers, so they're moving you down the page. And that's basically how clicking every link is on Medium after it's like loaded into the cache, which is kind of nice. And it gives you a lot more control, right? Medium can decide to, from the main page, pre-cache everything if they wanted to. They probably aren't because that would be a little bit excessive. A great example of how technology is not a solution to consent. Technology is not a person. Great. And thereby make all those navigation events faster. Also, it means that if I do something like I clap for this article, which I'm not going to do because I'm not signed in, and I honestly don't know what it says, but it starts with poor Aziz Ansari, which is not really promising. Then I can cause some data to get sent to the server without reloading the page at all, because I can make one of these XML HTTP requests in order to just tell the server, hey, Ashi just clapped for this. Drat, I clicked it. But actually, even that, like, I clicked it, and oh no, that was just pure JavaScript being like, you're not logged in, so I'm going to show you the login page. Okay, so how do we do that ourselves? Let's see. Let's go back to Wikipedia because there's just a little bit less going on there. Quantity sounds nice. So I can, so there's a couple of APIs for making these background requests to the server, which are colloquially known as XML HTTP requests, even though most of them don't use the XML HTTP request API anymore, and in fact don't use XML. But they are still HTTP requests. So one way is to like use the XML HTTP request API, which you have to say like new XML HTTP request, and then set things on this, like on ready state change, I think, and then URL href. Is it rec.open? And then it takes a URL. No, that wasn't it. No, maybe I need to tell it if it's async. Anyway, this is a terrible API. Don't use it. Instead, there's a newer API called fetch, which, in addition to being a little friendlier, also just returns a promise. So I can, for example, say fetch slash, and let's actually fetch one of the things on this page, like multitude, or which links to counting. So I can fetch slash wiki slash counting. That's going to return a promise. I can console log it, which shows me that it's this like response thing. I can log its body. which is a readable stream. How do I get the body text of this? Then no, it's not that. Okay, I have to look this API up too. Fetch API. See, if you like watching me Google, then this is the lecture for you. Fetch API gets XML get document. Oh, using fetch, that sounds right. Document. Okay, we won't reject on failures. This returns a blob, which is nice, but what I actually want is the like XML. So let's see. The response API says I can get a readable stream, but that's not what I want. What I really want is text. That sounds right. I mean, what I'd really, really like is like a document, but I'll deal with text. So that means that if I fetch that link and then ask for the response text and then log it, there's that page, multitude. And I could do like a really cheap kind of Ajax by saying, then, let's see, take that text and say document.root element.inner HTML equals text. That didn't work. How about document.body? So that, did we all see that? That kind of worked, right? We could do it again. Let's say I follow element mathematics. So when I hit enter, this page will change. Yay. So that's what Medium is doing. Except this is a lot crappier than what Medium is doing, actually, because I'm still requesting the entire next page, and I'm swapping out the whole content of this page with that page, which is a lot more aggressive than I need to be, right? Like, none of this stuff changed. Most of this stuff didn't change. And in fact, we kind of know what's going to change, right? Like, it would be just this article text. So when we control the front end and back end, and we've like designed our app to use Ajax and to be a single page app, we can just have some nice routes on our server that serve up just the data that we need, that we'll need to change in order to update the page. But actually, even doing things this way, it does feel a little bit faster, right? Maybe I'm kind of nuts, but let's see. Let's go back and look at single page application. That was pretty quick, right? Okay. Questions about what's going on?
Where does the single page application store, kind of unrelated to what's going on, but that website that you showed us?
Mm-hmm. Medium? Or, yeah.
Where's all the content being stored?
In some database somewhere. So there's some database, and then they have front-end servers, by which I mean, sorry, they have like their equivalent of Express servers. They might even actually be using Express for all I know, which serve routes, and those routes look like this, I guess. Like if we just load this route directly, copy link address. Yeah, so if we just try and visit that in the browser, it doesn't work. If we, because basically the backend can detect that we're not actually making an XML HTTP request, and it'll just direct us to this article. But if I copy the curl command out of it, which is a very useful little thing to do, copy as curl, then we can paste that into our terminal and get, this is like the data that is being served, which contains, it's actually pretty interesting. What does it contain? It contains whether the request worked, and then a payload, which has like, I guess the value is the whole article. Here's the ID of the article. Here's the version of the article, the creator, the title, and then a model of the body, which has all the paragraphs and then markdown within the paragraphs. And so all of that is stored in a database somewhere, and then there's an Express server or something very like it that serves this route. It's like set up to be like p/URL slug dash version, probably. Is that the version ID? No, it's just the ID. And then when I click on a link in Medium, it does that fetch command, or they use Axios or some other thing, which under the hood does fetch, and they turn this response, which gets parsed into JSON, into like something that they can put on the page. They go and like probably use React, but you could imagine them walking down this tree and creating new DOM elements to put them into the page. Yeah. Yeah, so one trade-off is that you can, like the pro is you get more control over when stuff loads. The con is you can use that to really screw up your page. Like you can load too much, you can really balloon memory requirements. Also, if your entire front end works this way, where instead of serving content, you serve a blob of JavaScript that then goes and fetches the content from some URL that serves JSON, Google won't crawl you because the Google bot doesn't go and run JavaScript on the page. This may not be 100% true anymore, but it's like still definitely crap for your SEO. And it can make things harder for users too, because when I visit medium.com, if they have like this sort of degenerate form of a single page app where literally every route serves the same content, and that content is like an empty page with a bundle of JavaScript that then knows how to assemble the page, what's going to happen is I'm going to hit that URL on my crappy phone as I'm walking into the subway. It's going to download a giant chunk of JavaScript, which then, like once I'm out of cell range, gets around to running and tries to make a request to this endpoint and can't, because now I'm on the train. Whereas if I had just served this article, this is not a lot of text, and I would have had a faster initial page load. So there's a way around that, namely that you can do both. You can render the page on the server and serve it as actual content, just HTML, just like Wikipedia is doing, and also serve some JavaScript with it that eventually, whenever it gets around to running, updates all the links on the page to do this crazy Ajax thing so that you get the best of both worlds. The initial load is fast, and when you click on something, it swaps in only what's needed. And that's called, what's that called exactly? It's just like, I don't want to call it a progressive web app because that now means something specific, but I think progressive enhancement is the term for that, where you serve a normal, like a flat HTML page from the browser, and then the JavaScript comes in And React is rather good for that. That's one reason people really like React, because it can run on the server and render content there, and then pick up where it left off on the client. It'll go and take a server rendered React tree and then be like, oh, I know what to update in this document. All right. Any other questions? So in this workshop, we're going to be making TripLiner do this, I think. There's the backend, right? There's the backend. Yeah, you'll be adding some routes to the backend, or possibly those routes will be given to you, and you'll be hitting them from the front end, and then changing content within the page. Probably doing something more sophisticated than this, like go and fetch a bunch of HTML and then set the inner HTML of something to be that. Probably you will get JSON back and then have to render that into HTML and then put it on the page. All right. So I created Paris. I will open the workshop now. And best of luck.